Hey, I'm Jim Edmonds. This is Kortnie Edmonds. We're here on the Hollywood Raw podcast, answering all the questions, good and bad. Come check it out, and we will take anything that they bring at us.
Anything.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page, guys. We're happy to have you here. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us comments, do all the stuff.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. I got a drug addiction to feed. Jim and Kortnie, first off, thank you guys for coming on the podcast. I first want to wish you actually congratulations because you guys recently, and I say recently because you're still in the honeymoon phase, have gotten married. You got married not too long ago. How you guys got married in Italy? How many people were actually at your wedding?
We had like 32, I think, ended up coming. So quite a big turnout for so far away.
I mean, it was like that's a good destination wedding. How many people were invited to how many people actually showed up?
32.
People, 2 or 3 people that got sick and they couldn't go. So
my uncle had an issue. My uncle and aunt had an issue. It was like an older brother to me, and he had an emergency with his son and their baby, so he just didn't want to be too far away, so they had to back out last second actually. But
pretty much everybody else, they RSVP showed up, surprisingly.
I want to know, what did you serve at your wedding? What gets put on the plates at a fancy destination Italian wedding?
Well, I wanted to keep it simple, but I also wanted everyone to be full and then get the culture of Italy and have it Italian food. But I knew I needed to have like steak and fish for the women, and so I did like a steak, dinner for the men. Women pretty much wanted fish and some pasta, and then a couple different appetizers. So I went crazy with the food. I thought I really want people to enjoy this experience.
it was actually, you've all been to weddings. And I don't mean to brag, but it was actually pretty amazing. I don't know if it's because we were in Italy or if she did it right, but the food was really good.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
It's hard to mess up.
Was there a reason, besides it being beautiful, was there a reason why you guys chose Italy, or just like, let's just do it there? It just seems, it's just beautiful. That's why we're going to do the wedding there.
Yeah. I had a couple reasons, but he said, it's in your, pick wherever you want. And I grew up on the beach. So I'm like, I really don't want to do beach destination. I grew up on the beach. It's kind of not boring, but it's just kind of not my thing. But it's my thing, but not, I don't want to get married there. So I'm like, I've never been to Italy.
I tried the courthouse before. That didn't work.
Yes. I thought, I don't want to do traditional church because both my parents had passed away. So I'm like, I want to do a destination for sure. Italy just came about because I love the culture. I love everything Italian, everything, the food, the people, the culture, all of it. And I thought everyone would really enjoy going. So it would be kind of an experience for everyone. And I thought his older daughters would really enjoy it. So just everyone, I thought it could be an adventure for everyone rather than let's go watch Jim get married again.
And then we got really lucky because there was only a few places that we thought that we could do it or we'd want to do it. It was like, are we going to do it in this city or that city? And then I actually reached out to a friend of mine who reached out to a very famous person that lived in Lake Como, kind of a Casa Amigos guy. And he said right away where we went, like Villa d'Este. And she went on the website, called a couple people, and they had this date open. And it just all just like
fell into place.
Like an avalanche, just fell into place perfectly. And it was just like, it just tumbled right into, they had X amount of rooms. The place across the street had some rooms. This weekend was perfect. And it just was amazing. And it wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold.
Yeah, it was right at the end of the summer. So people are, it's not so crowded. It's also not so hot. If it was 2 weeks prior, it would have been blazing hot. So it was cool.
And it was on the 25th, by the way, not my ex's birthday.
So I was going to actually bring that up. There was some stories. I was going to bring that up. And, obviously we have a lot of questions about your ex because, Jim, not for nothing, but she brings you up a lot. So I have a lot of questions regarding that.
Keeping me relevant.
Yeah. I've heard her story, and that's why I'm happy you came on the podcast because I want to hear your side of it. But I heard stories that you got married. You guys were getting married on the same. I saw the photos, and so you did not get married on the same date as your ex-wife Meghan's birthday. Is that correct?
Oh,
No, obviously. I mean, I tried, but that just wasn't the thing, right? So
yeah, we're on the 25th, and I think her birthday's the 24th. So
I think it was the 26th.
I had to
We couldn't
Google
even
it.
remember. I think it was the 26th, which it was a Monday.
Yeah.
So, we got married actually the day before, and it was like literally how long did we plan it for? Almost a year?
Yeah, a year. So
So
that
it was the only date that they had was that day. And so it was a Sunday, actually, the 25th. And I didn't even know that was going on. I got home and someone said, "Hey, your ex said, oh my
married on her
gosh, you got
birthday."
married on my birthday." And
Oh my
I was
God.
like, "What? When's her birthday? Because did it change? Like, I mean, what?" And by the way, even if it was, that was the furthest thought from my mind. I was just doing what I was,
told to do.
told to
Do you,
do.
do you think do you think she genuinely thought that was the fact, or just was like, "Oh, close enough. I'm gonna put that out there"?
Well,
Close enough,
I
I'm gonna
mean,
put that out there,
yeah,
probably.
like what? How many different answers would you like? I mean, if we get into it a little bit, I don't know if the truth has come out of her mouth since her and I have been together. So I can give you an entire list, and if not, all 3 years of just straight lies. So I don't even know where that came from, because clearly we did not get married on a Monday because we were headed to Florence. So I don't even know where that came from. I didn't even know that was existing until we got home 2 or 3 weeks later.
Wow.
And I think she had a copy of my wedding invitation that she made fun
Okay.
of. So I'm like, you see the date on there.
And how did she get a copy of that?
I think she screenshotted it from a friend of mine's page so she could make fun of it. I'm like, what person does that? I
Yeah,
know
she went
that
on a
you're
little podcast and tried to like make light of it.
fun of it or something. And I was like, wow, I was nervous coming up to the wedding. So I'm like, what kind of shit is she going to do right before we get married? And if that was the only thing, I was thankful, but yeah.
So
that means
take us
Kortnie,
back.
yeah.
I want to know. Sorry, Adam, if you've got Adam, go with your
No,
question. Then I want to take them back to like when they met. So go with your question.
Yeah.
So
So no, Jim and
what was
Kortnie,
your
how did
question?
you guys meet? And Kortnie, were you friends with Meghan by any chance?
No, I was actually friends with him first, and we met through mutual friends from Orange County because that's where I'm from, that's where he's from. And so mutual friends of us introduced us at Stagecoach, and we were all there together and as a big group. I didn't even know her, and I only met her like a couple of times, and then she says that we were best friends or something, and I like stole her husband, and it's like so far from the truth because I never even really knew her. She's from Missouri, so I met her once, twice, maybe 3 times, and then they got married and moved on with their lives, and that was that. So I don't know where the friend came from. Like, I don't know what she classifies friends. I wasn't at her wedding. I wasn't at her child's birthdays and their births.
You weren't in the same
I
state?
didn't talk to her at all, and the entire time they were together.
Yeah, I'm still trying
It's hard to follow that information because, again, we're reading all these stories and we're thinking, "Oh, this is true," and it seems like there's so many stories that are just different from reality. And why do you think that she would say that you guys are friends? What does she gain out of that?
I think like a big bang, like she wanted a big storyline, like she's still on the Housewives or something, and like this is her reality show, and she wanted like someone stole my husband.
You see what she's done, right? She's blasted the last husband. She's blasted the last boyfriend or 2. I mean, that's just her. It's just
Anyone
attention.
that,
I don't even understand why.
Crosses her, she humiliates online, and it's sad to use that tool for that reason. All the guys I feel bad for. I mean, look at they date her, and then she blows them out the next day, and with just made up stuff. And who knows if that stuff's true or not? But at least from my perspective, I never was able to defend myself or say, "Hey, that's not true," because I don't have that platform. But I just stayed silent. I'm like, one day it'll come out, hopefully. But that's so weird because everyone that I know and that she knows that we weren't friends.
It's really funny because Kenny, her last boyfriend, Kenny, I've known him for like 12 years and we play golf all the time. And I didn't even know they were dating. And she's now blasting him in the media for cheating on her and whatever, all this stuff. And it's the same story all over again. So, my poor kids, every time another guy leaves the house, they're like, "Oh, he was mean." Like, I mean, they're going to grow up thinking every guy's mean. And that's one of the issues that we have with it is, our kids or my kids and her stepkids are now thinking that every guy that leaves mommy's house is mean. And that's just
or deserts them and abandonment. Like, it's just sad. don't introduce your kids to your boyfriends. Like everyone knows that.
Every single one.
So
Anyway.
tell me,
Yeah.
what is it like co-parenting with Meghan? Because if you guys are so, if she can publicly go and bash you guys in the press, and then you see each other on Sunday, how does it work?
Well, first of all, we don't see each other on Sunday. We do the best we can to drop off away from that because one, we don't want to see her, and two,
I think it's still kind of a open wound, and we don't. It's very like in the beginning they were able to see each other and exchange the kids and stuff, but now it's gotten to the point where we have a nanny doing it, and I think that's better. But if I'm needed, I'll step in. But she's made it so that it's hard for me even to co-parent with her because of the things she says about me. She's embarrassed me, humiliated me, and it's like, how many punches do you take to the face before you just say enough? Like, I gray rock method her. Like I can't. And it's sad for the kids, but I try to just stay neutral and pretend that everything's fine and not, mommy's fine and everything's fine. But it's on the inside, I'm like,
it's not fine.
It's not fine.
So who organizes like the drop off times? Do you guys talk to each other? Do you text message, or does it just all go through like a nanny?
Well, actually now it's pretty good. It's we pick up from school on say Wednesday or Thursday and we drop off on Monday. So very often, or not very often, do we have to exchange
At
the house, which is nice because there's been so many mixed up messages and so many crossed up situations. It's just so annoying. It's like the co-parenting. I don't even know if that's a word in our situation right now. It's like we're just hoping that we can get the kids, keep them sane and healthy and
keep like a stable environment. And that's kind of all I've tried to do is just keep it consistent, stable. But it's very hard with her. It's just like a rocky road. And you never know, like tomorrow I'll wake up and there'll be an article about Jim being a dick and, Jim did this. And it's really hard to co-parent with someone where you never know, the next day what they're going to put out there on their social media or, write on their blog. And she's able to do that. And it's sad because that's not what it's meant for.
It's very simple too.
This is the father of her kids. She should have some little bit of respect and think, okay, one day they're going to grow up and read this. And what are you doing? Even
for her own good, like her own life. But it's very simple. Like the kids were just here for the last 5 days and they're very tired. They're in school. They're in bed at 6:30, 7 o'clock every night. They sleep 12 hours. Everything's great. She was actually out of town for 2 days and she gets the kids back and they're, it's chaos the first day. Whenever we get them, I'm sure when they go back,
it's like reacclimating to the environment.
And then she goes straight to social media and takes little shots like, oh, I got the kids back after 5 days and oh my gosh, their sleeping habits. How can you ruin them in 5 days? Well, I was like,
it's so not fair.
They went to bed every night at 6:45. They get home from school, they eat, they get their little stuff done, they go to bed, they get up and start over again. I don't know how I wrecked their sleeping habits. So it's just little jabs like that. It's been nonstop for 3 years and it's so fucking annoying.
Do you see any road to peace anytime soon between you guys and her?
Not as long as she talks.
I feel like I'm hopeful when, like, in the beginning stages of her dating, I was like, okay, cool, she's getting married. Like, maybe this is real. Maybe this is going to be, this guy's going to be her end all be all, and they're right off into the sunset. But it just keeps burning and crashing. And that was my hope is maybe when she's happy, we can all be happy. But
that was the thing with her last boyfriend, Ben. I thought that he was a friend of mine. He's a good guy. Not sure how they kind of linked up, but it was funny because, she said she was a friend and they were acquaintances. And I've known this guy for 12 years, but it was okay that she was dating one of my friends for 12 years of a golf partner. I was like, at least he's a good guy. Like, at least I know this guy. He needs to be good with my kids and this and that. And, that lasted probably about a month and a half. So that kind of sucks for the kids.
What correct me if I'm wrong, but, and I only know this, just from reading the news stories. It's my first time talking to you guys. It's the first time we all spoke together, but from what I saw in the media, that one of your children, unfortunately, has cerebral palsy. And I saw her post about that. So that's a serious thing. How is it for you guys raising a child? Because I feel like you have to communicate more dealing with a child with that. How is it for you kind of dealing with that?
Well, first of all, he doesn't have cerebral palsy. He has, it's called PBL, and it's kind of like it's its own little thing. It's kind of the very beginning stages, so it's not technically cerebral palsy because that wouldn't be. Clearly, they have little different versions of everything, of every disease, right? Because that wouldn't be fair to someone that has real cerebral palsy, and we all see these kids that struggle so much.
They can't even walk.
Yeah, and there's just so many different versions. But he's got PBL, so unfortunately, we tried to have the kids naturally, even without the doctor's approval, and he got stuck up inside, and he was the second twin out, and he got lack of oxygen to the brain, apparently, is what they said, and so he has issues. He's got some white matter in the brain.
It's like softening of the white matter in the brain.
And so his learning is a little bit slowed. It was weird because when he was a baby, you could tell he was fine. He was quirky, but he would catch up a little bit late, right? Like, so he was like, say in early stages, he was like 2 or 3 months behind Hayes. And then he was 4 months behind, and then he was 6 months behind, but it was catching up. The only thing that I really see is just he's really temperamental.
He has behavioral issues and stuff, and he's slower, but he's catching up. And if you interacted with him for a couple hours,
you wouldn't even know.
I can't really tell. But why would you tell your son or label your son as he can't walk when he can walk?
You wouldn't even know.
Why put that stamp on him and look like and label him that when he was never diagnosed? And I kept asking him, I'm like, are you sure, before I go to bat for you and like say this, all these things to my friends, that he doesn't have this, are you sure? And he's like, he was never diagnosed with CP. Like, that's not fair. And
yeah, that's my question. I felt like that's why gets weird, because what are your thoughts about that she kind of labeled him, the child has CP, when he doesn't have that? And do you think she was maybe using that for sympathy? Was she using that for media? Like, why would she do that?
A storyline, a platform for her to self. It's like you're using your kids as I don't know, tools.
Well, she once said one time doing the show that, people can't relate to the show because they all think that we're rich or all think that it's glamorous. So I want to relate to like every housewife, every mom at home. And I'm like, well, okay, then tell the truth. Like, don't tell the sad stories all the time. Like, just be straight. But, he has a version of CP, but it's the very, very like
it never gets worse.
0.00 like 5% of 0 to 100 of what it could be.
It never will get into the CP stages, though. It says it'll never get worse. It'll only become better, or it'll stay the same.
His brain slowly will take over. So it's like anything. Like, if you take out a piece of your brain, the rest of your brain will work really hard to kind of replace that. And so really the only issues we've seen, he has a little issues with school, but I'm telling you, this kid's so smart. We were talking to the school the other day, and they were like, he's learned that if he does something in class, he gets out of class for a little bit and goes and hangs out with the principal. Yes. And he can even eat his lunch, or he even gets to come home and hang out with you guys. And so it's like that, kind of like this double-edged sword, like, got to be hard on him, but yet he's got a little bit of a, an issue. But I mean, if you were to watch him run around, and he's driving his little car out in the street, I mean, it's really, you would never know unless you spent quality time with this kid.
So Jim, with something like that being revealed by the child's mother, and obviously that wasn't a decision that you guys went in on together to reveal a medical diagnosis or one that wasn't there. How did that make you feel, seeing that splashed across the headlines when you had no say-so in it?
Well, the thing that worries me the most is that his friends are going to eventually know and see and read from the parents, right? It's going to get passed down, because obviously we're a staple in this community and everyone knows what's going on in this country. And so, he's going to be in kindergarten next year, but in another year or two, the kids are going to understand, and parents are going to say, oh, watch out for him. He's got issues, and that's going to be a trickle down effect. And it's like what everyone says. We get constant DMs and text messages and emails, and it's like, what in the hell is going on? Even my parents are like, does she not understand that this is going to label this child for the rest of his life, even if he straightens out, because of what other people think from what's going to be online for life? And that was my biggest thing, is like, why are we even, putting a tag on this kid at this stage when he either could improve, grow out of it, or, you can't.
He
if
should
you
be
go
the one to make that decision
Yeah.
when he gets older to reveal that
He
information.
goes and watches his brother or his sister play soccer, and you would never know. And he wants to play sports. He's downstairs in our batting cage hitting baseballs. He'll throw the ball to chase the kids around. Like I said, if you were here at our house, you wouldn't know.
Interesting.
So I want to go back also to when the Real Housewives franchise came into your life. How did that whole, and I'm going to say circus because I feel like the Real Housewife franchise, there's always a circus no matter what city you're in. It's always crazy because that's just what it is.
It's getting worse, by the way. People are going to jail. Jesus.
Not the first person, but yeah. So how did that affect your relationship?
It really didn't. It didn't affect our relationship. I didn't watch the shows. I was friends with Andy Cohen. It was funny. It was right before we did it. Went to a little party for his parents here in St. Louis, and his mom and dad said, "Oh my God, don't do it!" Like as a joke. So they were laughing, and I still see them all the time. Like, can't believe you did that. Can't believe you did that. Kind of like giving me trouble. But no, it didn't really affect our relationship, other than the fact that as it progressed, I could just see the thirst for fame change. And I was done working. I'd done everything I could possibly do. I was retired, basically. I was barely doing any kind of TV or anything in St. Louis. We were going back and forth. We didn't even live in Orange County. We lived in St. Louis. And so we would fly out. She would stay for how long the show would go, and then she'd fly back. And it was kind of like the reality, non-reality kind of situation. Mm-hmm. But I could just see the edge and the what you would see, like if you got a young kid as a quarterback and all of a sudden he was like, "Oh, look at me, I'm a quarterback. Look, hey, everyone, I need free dinners." And that kind of just that little twist changed. And I was like watching it going, "Wait, you need champagne at every dinner now? What just happened? Like where did you go?" And so I could see that starting to really turn into now what we see today, which is a complete and ridiculous thirst for trying to be famous.
Why do you think she, obviously fame is one thing, but what is your thoughts of why she continuously talks about you?
Try to stay relevant? I don't know. We do nothing
I was curious because today I saw a post and it was like, it's every day now. It's almost getting worse. And I'm like, we're going on 3 years of dating and it's gotten worse, not better. So I'm like, where is the end here? Like, when do you stop talking about your ex and move on with your life? I'm curious.
Yeah, we can't figure out what's going on. I mean, I hate to say it's to be relevant because it's really weird to say that, but I don't even understand what else there is unless you just can be so bitter about something that really you had most of the, doing with. I don't even know why there would be any animosity, to tell you the truth, at this point. So I really don't know. I'm kind of shocked that it's still going on, to be honest with you.
So if she was listening right now, what would you say to Meghan about?
No comments. No comment.
I'm just curious. Is it close your mouth? Is it stop talking about me? Is it like, what would you want her to do?
I've told her 100 times. And that's why the co-parenting is so difficult, because I'm like, hey, listen, you want to co-parent, you tell, our GAL, which is in charge of the kids, you tell the lawyers, you tell your friends you want to co-parent. But then every time I turn around, you're bashing me on every talk show, on every TV show, on every, even the simplest post that she makes is taking a jab at me. And I'm just like, I mean, come on, like, move on. You've been married. You've dated 4 different guys that have actually lived in your house with you for a period of time. You have kids. I'm the dad. Like, when are you going to stop putting all this in writing so the kids don't see it? I mean, it's ridiculous that
even the older kids, he has older kids, they're in junior high, like they get the wrath.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to them. Like they were caught in the middle. That was like their stepmom at one point, and they're getting teased at school and things at school. Like, she doesn't care at all about that.
The other
kids
my older kids that she watched some kind of show with when the show wasn't even alive. I'm like going when my kids were alive. It's just nonstop, constant lie after lie after lie. So I really don't even know how to explain it.
Well, let me ask you this. And again, I only know this from reading the news. She put a restraining order against you, I think, at one point. What was your side of that whole incident?
It was a protection order, which actually is totally different.
You know what's funny? I'll let you talk, but Steve, this has happened right before we got married, so it was like of perfect timing. And right before we get married, she had, it appeared. And I was like, can you send me a copy of it? I want to see it. And I'm like, want to see what, because you have to allege something in order to get one.
Because the protection order is fear for your life.
And the date was 3 months ago. And I'm like, so you're in danger of your life, but this was 3 months ago it was filed, or like she had it written up. It was never served to us. No one ever came here. 3 months later, we've had the kids, we've seen her, she's been at the house. Like what?
We had no idea. And a protection order is fear for your life, and what is it called? Instant danger right now. Like if someone came in the house that I knew and they were saying,
she
I'm going to kill you.
She was asking to meet at the kids' school the day before. Yeah. I'm like, wait, if you're in fear of your life, why are you calling them saying, let's ride together to the school?
Yeah, let's ride together to the school. But it was funny because, the grounds for that is you lay out, he beat me up, he yelled at me, he has a gun, he's this. The first thing on the thing was that I kicked her dog, which was completely false. I threatened her dad. There was like 5 things on this list before it said that that she was scared of me. And so it really never got filed, but it made the, obviously
someone
made the media.
Someone sent it TMZ and they were about to run it. And I'm like, Steve, let me see before they do this. It's not real. Like you have to serve someone. I mean, you have to be, knowing.
Well, another thing too was, after I figured all this out, we went to the lawyers and and my lawyer called her lawyer and he's like, I told her no, I don't know why she did it. And then when my lawyer got a hold of the paperwork, it was written by a child's handwriting, basically. Like she filled the whole thing out herself and sent it in to the police station. So God knows what's going on.
Things are different here in Missouri than LA.
So the police were never called for any incident in particular. It's dead at this point.
We didn't even know about it. Wow. We didn't even know about it. She brought it up. It was really funny. She said this earlier. She said the wedding's getting close. What is she going to do to try to trump our wedding? And that showed up.
Yeah, it showed up, and People was going to do a little article of our wedding, and I don't know if she knew that or if she just assumed. I don't know, whatever. But she was like doing things, and they were going to pull the People article. I'm like, I could care less. Like, I'm not looking to be famous, but I thought let's move on. Let's put Jimmy in a positive light. He doesn't deserve to be just like bashed every day, and everyone thinks he's like the cheater, the dick, the woman abuser, and I'm like, over that. Let's move on. He's a whole different guy than what people really think, and he's an athlete. He made his career doing that. And she's like tearing all that down, and it's really unfair, and it's hard to see and watch. So I was like, let's do the People article. Let's start moving on with our lives, put some positive stuff out there. And she did everything in her power that week before to get it taken down.
Well, with the cheating allegations, cheating with the nanny, what's your side of that story?
It never. I mean, it was not even close to happening.
If you interacted with the nanny, you would. I mean, I think about it often. I'm like, how could she ever think that? Because this girl's like 20 years old.
Let's just start over. So,
and not like it doesn't happen, but
she threw that out there, and then so I was pissed, obviously, and I knew. I mean, there's no way it could ever happen. This girl lived with us for like 3 years. Megan was like, here, she doesn't have a dad. Take her out for her 21st birthday. Here, she doesn't have a dad. Do this, do that. So she was like our child that was helping us with the kids. And then so everything started to twist in our relationship. And apparently she threw that out there one day. And then like a couple months later, somebody came over to my house that had worked on our house when I was living with her. And now I'm at the new house. And she was like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm not happy about the whole Carly situation. And she was like, yeah, I asked her about that. And she said, yeah, she made it up because she was mad. And I was like, well, that's unfortunate because that's just ruined her life. And then it's trying to ruin my life. And it's, by the way, it's one thing to like put things out there, but she went after our nanny, Carly, so hard that she lost everything, all self-esteem, everything, had to move out of the city, start over. And it was awful. I mean, it was just like something you don't do to a 23, 24-year-old child, especially with a really tough upbringing, without a father most of her life, and just moved from Idaho to help us with the kids. And the next thing you know, like she's all over the place being attacked. And so
I think
to be honest with you, it is the biggest joke I've ever heard, but I just kind of sat back thinking, oh, it'll go away. And it's just like,
I think that she
needed a oomph.
well, no, she like the marriage was ending. So she was like trying to blame it on someone. But that's my opinion. Or trying to blame it on like, it had to be cheating. He has to be the villain, has to be something really, he has to be the dick.
The best thing too is still to this day, when you talk about the co-parenting, I said, like the co-parenting's never going to start until you stop. And I was like, we're still having cheating allegations. And you said I slept with Carly. And she goes, I never said that. I go, wait, you never said that? It's all over the world. She goes, well, I never said it. And I'm like, come on. Like, it's just like denial, lies, and more lies. So I tried to ignore it as long as I could. And, this is why you haven't heard anything from me in 3 years. But it's an absolute joke. It's so false. And it's embarrassing for me, her, Carly, for Meghan herself. Like,
kind of
it's
just
ridiculous.
Unfair. Like I still get, not anymore, but I used to get these awful DMs when I first started dating him. And people, I'm like, you don't even know the guy. You're just listening to this woman that's, hurt, and she's saying all these things. You don't even know the other side. And so I'd get these DMs from people like, he's an asshole, he cheated, he lied, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, how do you know this? And it's not fair to just throw that out there without anything to back it up. Like, so I just stayed quiet because I'm like, how am I going to battle that? Like, what am I going to do?
Here, Kortnie, you tell us who Jim really is. Then let me hear from you how you would describe him, not how Meghan would describe him.
Let me say this one thing. I was so confident about what I did and didn't do. That's why I never really addressed it. Mm-hmm. I really felt bad for Carly, but when she moved, I was like, okay, she's in a good place. I know what really happened. I don't need to address this because it's not even close to being the truth. So I'm just going to just take the high road and move on. And so back to your question.
Yeah. Kortnie, you describe Jim, the Jim that no one else knows, the Jim that,
Well, they do. Like his sport, like he made his whole career off playing baseball. And like when I'm here in St. Louis, people like glorify him. And they come up and they're like, we really love listening to you on the air. We really love the way you played. People like older men will come up and be like, I watched you my whole, my whole 40s and 50s. Like people really enjoyed watching him play sports. He was really good at it. He's like an anomaly. Like people don't get, that kind of a career out of sports. I mean, they do, but older guys, right? So anyway, when I came here, I didn't know how he was. I didn't know that he was that good of a baseball player. I thought, yeah, he played sports. Everyone in LA, is somewhat, played, or where I grew up at least. And so when I come here, people are like, coming up to us at dinner and like, really interested and involved and really love him and care to watch him. And then I see this woman, tearing him down. So in the beginning, I was a little nervous, like, am I getting myself into something that, it's not going to be good? But surely, like after a couple of days being here, I was like, this isn't the man that she labeled him as. He's not. He's a great dad. He has all these kids he provides for. He's a present dad. He's a good dad. He's there. She has an ex-husband that takes care of her kids. She should be thankful. Most, some men will just leave. She has, he's dedicated to them. He's just, I don't know. He's nothing like what I thought.
Jim, roughly how much in lawyer fees has going back and forth with Meghan cost you?
God, I don't even know. It's still going for no reason. Close to 100 for no reason.
Jeez.
I think that we had an ironclad prenup, and she battled it for a year and a half, and then basically I was like, I don't know what you're doing. My lawyer was saying this thing is solid as it gets. The other lawyer was like battling. And I just woke up one day and said, okay, we're good. We're gonna sign. I was like, wait, what the hell did we just do for a year and a half for no reason? Like, okay, we're just going to sign the prenup now. Yeah. So I was like,
I'm actually kind of worried that maybe it's more than just being in the public eye. I think sometimes I worry that it's more of a mental illness rather than anything else. But I'm not a doctor. I can't like label her that, nor do I want to. But I worry because why would you want yourself to constantly be going through all that turmoil and put yourself and your family through that? It's like, you're humiliating your family and yourself and
everybody around you.
Everyone around you that comes in contact with you, you humiliate. So we get
so many messages, both of us, about like people with mental issues and
Oh yeah,
personality
they say,
disorders, and we've
before.
seen this, and your ex is this and your ex is that, and I have my sisters like that and my brothers like that. It's like,
Or they
it's
say
almost
that
nonstop.
Jimmy should have like a court evaluate her mental state and see what they come up with, and if she wants to do that with him too, that's fair. But I don't know. I worry about my future, and is this going to be like a roller coaster ride that we're going to ride forever? But hopefully not.
So as being the father of her children, and her being so open on her podcast and social media, she's posting photos of her naked. She's talking about hooking up with guys, girls, everything in between. What does that look like for down the road? Because I got to imagine a normal person finds it entertaining. The father of her child might find that very different. What is your opinion on all that?
Well, it's like a car crash, right? Everyone slows down to watch it on the highway. And that's the definition that everyone keeps saying. But I just feel bad for my kids, because I think that this day and age, as we know, everything's going to be archived forever. And so, when my 6-year-old daughter, who, idolizes her dad, idolizes her stepmom, idolizes her mom, is going to get a little bit older, and girls, as we know, will be catty. She's going to be in a situation where someone's going to say, hey, your mom hooked up with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so in the same weekend. And is she a lesbian? Is she straight? Is she bi? Is she, how many guys has she slept with in a year? I mean, when you're putting that out there, I think that I'm not really worried about Meghan if that's what she wants to do, but I'm only just worried about my kids. I'm like, I can't imagine saying that stuff, not thinking, man, my kids are going to hear this someday.
I'm kind of thinking that's why we came to this conclusion talking to you guys, is because it's like, maybe this will, like, we could just not put anything more out there. No more medical records with your kids. No more personal information. Like, if you want to be famous and you want to go out and masturbate in the woods, more power to you. But I just would like to be left out of it. And I think it's time to move on.
Yeah.
There's been some very, very serious allegations from her about you. And, they're just allegations. Again, I don't know the truth. But my question is, how has this affected your career besides your kids? Has this affected you in work, like from maybe possible jobs or opportunities, paid appearances?
I mean, I think it probably has, but I have to say that I haven't heard a lot of negative stuff. I think that the people around me are probably smart enough to just like.
I think in the beginning, yes.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well,
and now they see the pattern, and they see it's just a lot of stuff for someone to be, and it's been going on for so long. It's kind of like it's losing its momentum, maybe. But in the beginning, I think.
Yeah, I think it had in the past. I mean, thankfully, it didn't hurt my job, but I think that all the stuff that I do off to the side, it could definitely hurt. But I think the one thing for me is, all I'm saying is, like, I don't hear about it as much anymore. And so the people around me know that I'm not a big fan of listening to the gossip. And so if someone doesn't want me to go somewhere and speak to someone, we're not going to hear about it anymore. They're just not going to ask. So, I mean, we kind of just keep our heads down and take care of the kids when they're here and try to travel and enjoy ourselves. And
that's the thing, is
that's about it.
He just wants to be a dad, and he wants to raise the kids and it's like impossible. It's like hard,
Yeah. So let me ask you this, as from the outside looking in, when she marries Joe Biden's nephew, and then obviously the marriage got annulled pretty quick, were you in the back of your mind, were you just kind of laughing or smirking like, of course, like I knew did you knew that was not going to end well?
Well, yeah, but there's a story to that, is because so let's just say they met on a Wednesday. He flew in and met her on a Wednesday, and they went to dinner. But the weekend before, she was on a weekend retreat with this guy from San Francisco or the West Coast. And she called me out of the blue and to rub it in my face. And she said, hey, I know you know Tyron Woodley, UFC fighter here in St. Louis, good friend of mine. I just met a UFC fighter, and he wants to come to St. Louis and hang out. Is there any place he can work out? And I was like, are you really, really calling me for this? Like, and I thought, like, well, there's plenty of gyms, obviously. And if he's a UFC fighter, he can find a place to work out, right? I mean, if you're a tennis player, You can find a tennis court. You know, if you're a weightlifter, you're going to find a gym. So anyways, so the funny story was that happened, say, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. She made a big deal out of the whole dating thing. She rented a car, posted all over social media, and we had the kids that weekend. And so we dropped off the kids to school Monday. That Monday after the weekend was over, she was home. We went on vacation for a couple of days, and I got a phone call saying, your ex is in here making out with some long-haired guy in the bar in some random restaurant. And so 3 days later, she's doing that, and then they get married within 3 weeks. And so, yeah, I didn't think it was going to end up well, but I mean, that's none of my business. We were, doing our thing, and I just think it's weird.
She tells the kids that, like, you have a new daddy.
Oh yeah,
and
that was the hard part.
The kids will come home, and Hart, the one that she labels as a certain thing, he comes up to me and he goes, Cuff, or I don't really know.
Cuffy, he called.
Cuffy. He goes, Cuffy? And I said, no, do you? And this was a little bit more recent, so in the last couple months. And I'm like, no, do you? And he goes, yeah, he was mean to my mommy and he just left us. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and then she told Aspen that this is your new daddy.
New daddy at our house.
No, new daddy. And so she comes home and she goes, I have a new daddy. And I'm like, what in the hell are you doing to these kids? Like, now the guy's gone. Like, it makes me so annoyed. Thanks, buddy.
It's okay.
The story that I remember standing out in my head about that whole situation was that, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong on this, or that story was right, that she believed she was actually going to get Secret Service protection because of marrying him, who's obviously, related to the president, and that was a big misunderstanding that no, she does not get Secret Service protection.
I thought it was funny because that came up, and every time somebody new comes along, she's looking to move to that area and do this and do that. So she called me and said, hey, I'm thinking about moving to California, and where he lives, and I want to put the kids in school there because with the Biden name, they're going to get it into a really good school. And I kind of made a joke, like, with the Biden name, they're going to have to fight for their lives. And she said, don't worry, we're going to have Secret Service wherever we go. And I was like, wait, what? Secret Service for you? Or for the kids? Or for the sister's kid? And so anyways, I thought that was pretty funny because it was just another jab of like, I'm better than you. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, you can't move. Second of all, I doubt the Secret Service come along. But if they do, thank God, because our kids will be safe.
Wow. It's, yeah, that's pretty rough. So I actually thought at that wedding, I thought the story was that she was going to Secret Service. And, again, I'm just throwing this out there, that she probably let the Secret Service know that you could possibly show up at this wedding and be a threat.
I'm sure. I didn't even know. Again,
I don't know if I'm just making that up, but I just thought in my head based on what's going on here.
I didn't even know about it.
You're going to do the Britney Spears, like run in and be like, no.
I think she said, hey, I want you to know I'm getting married tomorrow. And I was like, what? And she goes, yeah, I'm getting married tomorrow. I was like, all right, good luck. That was it. So I had no idea what was going on.
There was so many stories when we were kind of like knowing that we were going to be able to chat with you guys, that we were going through. My question is there any other stories that like have maybe rubbed you the wrong way that you're like, I'd like to set the record straight, at least with that story. Is there anything else that's out there that we haven't asked you about that you would like to clear up?
I mean, it's
the restraining order was a good one.
3 solid years of nonsense. Like, I don't really even know. I mean,
well, it's hard to look at anymore. It's really hard to even Google it, including my own name. So I have to, but you kind of nailed a couple good ones because people around here, women, mothers in the community, they worry about certain things. That's their kids, the safety of their kids. And, him having a restraining order was a big deal, or potentially having one. That was kind of a shock to me. Because I was like, that's not true and that's not appropriate and you shouldn't be doing that. So that was a good one. And then the cheating thing, like it's almost like he'll never live that down, even if he, proves it's false. Like he's always going to be labeled as the cheater, the stereotype athlete that cheated on his wife and
I think
left.
The best part is she tells everyone that she never said that. And then I have friends that say, well, she was drinking one night and said, I said it because I was mad. And I'm like, well, okay, did you never say it? Did you say it on accident? Did you say it you were mad? But I think the one thing that comes down to it is that where my comfort zone is, everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie towards us, towards me.
I think she thinks she's in a reality show 24/7. So it's like she doesn't care what comes out of her mouth. It's just storyline, article. Hopefully this is written, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to be picked up on Us Weekly and Page 6 and all that. And that's kind of why I just feel like if I stayed away from it, it'd finally go away, and people can't pick you apart. And what I've tried to do, and even we've kind of battled a little bit about it, like, do we say anything? Do we not say anything? And she's always been like, take the high road. And I think the one thing that I've learned from this, and it really has made us better, like stronger. Our relationship is better. It's funnier. It's tighter. It's, the one thing, and the only thing that the drawback is, we're trying to raise these kids that we see every other week with these crazy intentions or these crazy thoughts in their head. And how do you reverse that? So I think it's been a whirlwind, and I couldn't be happier where I'm at. I'm sure she's probably could do without some of the drama, but I just, like I said, I think that the only thing I can hang my hat on is every single thing that comes out of the mouth is a lie.
So there's no, right now, at this point right now, is there a chance, are we getting close to it being cool with you guys, or at least civil, or it's far from that?
You know what? We don't see each other. We don't really speak. I get an email once in a while because of the kids in school.
I tried to reach out to her because I felt like I've kept her blocked. I told her in the beginning, I'm like, if you throw me out there and start trying to bash me like you do him, we'll never be able to co-parent. And I said that, and I mean it. And I'm sorry for that, because I would love to be able to. I've had great relationships with my exes and their ex-wives, and it's worked out great. But her, I tried, I got burned, and I'm not the type to keep getting burned. So I've kept her blocked, but I kind of had a weak moment, and I'm like, I feel for you. I feel bad for her sometimes. I feel like she's struggling mentally. And I reached out during Christmas and I said, I do think the kids are on the internet too much. And I hoped that she would reconsider what she does with them. And she was like, thank you for that. And I thought, okay, we have a little bit of hope in maybe talking. And then sure enough, snowballs into a bunch of nonsense. And then the next day she's, sending me court papers threatening, I have legal right to you take your photos down with my kids. I'm like, you have them all over the internet.
So actually I wanted to ask you guys about that.
It's just weird.
I'm not picking sides here. I'm just here to learn and just kind of I just want to talk straight to the source rather than read from a news outlet. Because again, they could be a little bit biased, but I did think it was interesting that she posted something recently of the kids, and she said, I'm no longer going to post the kids' faces, and she blocked the kids' faces. However, scroll down, and there's tons of the kids' faces. So yeah. I'm like, maybe get rid of all that stuff. I don't know. I just thought that was I don't know how you handle that, but I did think that was a little unique or strange.
So on December 28th, she's got a picture of all the kids together and smiling. And then on January 5th or 6th, she said she's no longer going to post pictures of the kids. But she's got 2,700 posts, and 2,200 of them are kids. So what's the difference? They're all over the internet already. You have them on your page, on your screen. So what's the difference? I think that was just another one of those look at me moment
with the nannies and
trying something new.
I get it, but I think we all need to. You can't just one day be like, I'm going to wake up today and I'm going to like women. Or tomorrow I'm gonna you pick a road and go with it. Pick a
lane.
Pick a lane and stay in it, and then or just be consistent, at least for your kids, with anything, because everything is so all over the place. 1 minute it's this, 1 minute it's that. I can never.
Now she's spearheading retreats.
So the other thing that I wanted to ask you guys about, because this story is brand new, I don't even know if you've seen it or not, but she posted an Instagram holding up a baby and basically saying that she's a little bitter that she wears the pain with a badge of honor because how far she's come. She envies other people with nuclear families, and I mourn the one I lost.
What's a nuclear
that like mother, father, kids, like that traditional
like a
family.
Nuclear bomb, because that's what we have.
Traditional.
Like nuclear bomb is like what we have. Like it's already gone off, and it's like cloud over the whole city here. So she has a nuclear family. But no, I think that falls right back into place with like, you know, we're all of a sudden having those conversations with Hart, and we're trying to have a serious. This last week has been a serious week with him. He had a little shit at school. We're trying to figure out, is he ready for kindergarten? Is he ready? And it's funny because she can just all of a sudden put that off to the side. And I'm thinking, oh, man, she's turning the corner. And then flip open the news, and there it is. Like, she wishes she had a family that she doesn't have. I'm like, well, this is what you asked for. So
there's a million families in the world, like millions. My family broke up. I was 14, 15,
Ditto.
You know, and you know, it doesn't have to be some big conspiracy or someone cheats or someone does something really gnarly. People are not compatible and they move on. Happens all the time. So why can't we, you know, carry on with our lives? And it doesn't have
Why
to be...
can't we be friends?
Oh my God.
Why can't we be friends?
Oh my God.
I think my last question for you, Jim, is when you sign a 6-year, $57 million contract, after taxes and paying your agents, how much do you actually walk away with?
With a good tax guy, probably 50%.
Jeez.
I thought you were going to ask me, like, what would I be worth today? I would be like, I'd be right around 300 million, like the rest of them. I mean,
I know. Isn't that wild? Don't you sometimes wish you grew up and you played in a different era when you see the number of people are getting now?
Well, you know what's amazing is if you really think about it, and so being very respectful, yes, I can say that. But then I'm around, you know, I was around Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, Al Roboski, Ozzie Smith. They all can say that, right? Some of these guys worked in the winter, survive, making 20 grand, 10. I think Al Roboski told me one time his salary was like 20-something thousand dollars one year, you know, early on in the 60s. So yeah, I mean, I would love to say, gosh, I mean, the thing that gets me is if you see the numbers, the averages and the what they put together over a course of a year or a career, and you kind of look in the, you know, I've done it every now and then, not very often. I'm like, God, he's making what? I'm like, that's half of what I did in a year. Like, you know, I'm like, yeah, obviously, but out of respect, because I've heard this before, and out of respect to people that I know and that have been there, I can't, you know, I just can't, because there's guys that are older than me that are in the Hall of Fame that are 20 times the players as some of these kids are nowadays. And they didn't make $2 million in their entire career. So I would definitely not even get into that category, but it is pretty interesting.
It's sad. Crazy. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's just an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, no, the money they're throwing around is amazing. And you go like, even look at what Tom Brady's doing still to this day. I mean, it just keeps going. Like, it's just, there's no end to what guys are doing out there on the field now. So I love it. I love seeing people do really well at their job. You know what? And one thing I did want to say was, I think that it's really sad that this world thrives on negativity. You know, the world survives on negativity right now. I mean, look at what Twitter shows you. Look at like the TikTok. It's not the negativity of TikTok, but it's what the kids get. And the Instagram, you get all just a bunch of haters, and everyone wants to see Tom Brady get knocked out or, you know, lose, or, you know, it just goes on and on and on and on. Like, why can't we just be happy? It's so hard to win. It's so hard to be Tom Brady, Derek Jeter, the Yankees back in the day. Like, man, just embrace that. Like, you know, it's like these guys are just work their tails off, and everyone just wants to stab them in the back. And it's just, it carries on all the way through, you know, the reality TV and all this other crap. Everyone wants to watch the train wreck, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, you know, I really appreciate you guys taking the time, sit down with us. I know that you guys really haven't done this. You haven't really spoken up in years. And I appreciate you coming on here and just speaking your truth and being honest and vulnerable and saying, hey, there's nothing off limits. Just ask us anything and we'll go with it. And I appreciate that. And you know, I hope that there is some peace at the end of the road here, because for your children's sake, for everyone involved, it's like, you don't want this to go on forever. You don't want to be in the headlines forever. So I hope I hope something is positive at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for, is positivity.
I wanted to say this in the beginning. Like, I didn't want this to be just like bash Meghan session, which it kind of turned into, but I definitely don't want this to like stir more stuff up with her. And I do want peace with her. Like, I have no hard feelings, even after all the stuff that we've gone through. I just want it to be peaceful. And he's my husband, so it's like hard to watch. I have to, protect our family. And it's difficult when someone's just like quick to pull up their phone and be like, well, I'll just write a Twitter thing about you, or, it's difficult.
Yeah.
So we'll
Thanks
see.
for having us.
But
Appreciate
thank you
it.
for having us.
No, of course, of course. If you guys want to follow Jim or Kortnie, head on over to their Instagram page. You can follow Jim at Jim Edmonds 15. You can follow Kortnie at Kortnie OC. Follow their daily lives, all their funness on Instagram. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us.
You guys are great. We appreciate it. And thank you for asking us some honest questions. And like I said, we'll be truthful with you. We had a good time.
All right.
Wow.
What'd you think?
No, I appreciate them. I think it's interesting that he hasn't spoken about this in years since everything went down, and then obviously finally it got to the breaking point for him that he's like,
and
I need to just
quiet
kind of
when
say
she's
something.
calling you. She's calling you a cheater. It's ruining, like, that makes it awkward with your friendships, the people that you know. Like, how did he stay quiet? I don't understand.
Because like he said, he's like, it's just so ridiculous. But I feel like at some point you just have to address it all at the end, because if not, he'd be kind of doing press conferences every week. Okay, here's what's going on. So rather than bring it all and then I'm going to address it, fortunately for us, he kind of addressed it on our podcast. So thank you for him coming on the podcast. I appreciate his honesty. I know it's a difficult thing, especially having kids. And my question is like, I feel like it's got to affect your work, and jobs. And he's a broadcaster, and kind of, the curtain was kind of pulled back, and you kind of saw his personal side, or kind of exposed his personal life, which I have to imagine it kind of affected his career at some point. Granted,
Of course,
he's very well off. He was a great baseball player. He did very well financially, but there's still work out there, and I'm sure some people are like some people out there gathered this opinion that this is how Jim Edmonds is really like.
Mm-hmm. Well, Meghan, if you want to come on, we will allow you to speak your truth as well on here. But feel free to hit us up. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed today's podcast, which I'm sure you did, head on over to our iTunes page, find Hollywood Raw, scroll down to the bottom, leave us a 5-star review. Tell us, what an amazing job we are doing in your life. And we'll normally try to read off a couple of those reviews at the top of the show, just to say thank you. Other than that, you can come. We'll answer your questions in our private Facebook group. We have Off the Record on Facebook. You find us under Hollywood Raw Off the Record. And, I expect that a lot of our normal listeners will be in there talking all about this episode, because this is a pretty juicy episode, I must say. I think a lot of people are so fascinated with the Real Housewives and Meghan King and the Jim Edmonds storyline. And so to have him on, I think we're going to get a lot of feedback from this. So if you want to be a part of that feedback, come and join our private Facebook group. If you are not into that, well, follow us on social media. We got a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of that under Hollywood Raw. And you can follow Adam at Adam Glyn. You can follow me at Dax Holt. And until next time, that's it.
Ciao, ciao. What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.